Welcome to Worthlessness 2.0. So, I'm re-recording this podcast because I got a lot of questions about worthlessness and people wanting me to dive a bit deeper. So, here we go. Here we go. Let's get into worthlessness. So, what is worthlessness? Is it an emotion, an experience, a thought, a feeling? These are questions we ask when we've skimmed the surface of worthlessness, right? We've touched into it. We know it's there inside us, but we haven't really dived deep into the experience, the feeling of worthlessness. So if you're plagued by worthlessness, keep listening, right? If you kind of know it's there, it's one of those things that we know is there that we don't want to deal with, that we don't want to talk to. We don't want to face it because it feels like despair. It feels really uncomfortable. Worthlessness is one of those things that people avoid even more than fear or grief, right? It's one of those haunts that lingers in the background. And really, what it does is it sabotages your creativity, your success, your vulnerability, your ability to love and be loved. Worthlessness can look like many different things. It can look like self-criticism, insecurity, overconfidence, constant worrying, anxiety, fear of trying new things, never reaching your goals, not taking a compliment, inability to ask for help, a deep, everlasting loneliness and disconnection, right? Worthlessness is so pervasive that we let it stay with us. We let it come to parties, work, right? We even bring it into the bedroom and we simply just pretend it's not there because we don't want to face it, right? We have a lot of fear around worthlessness, a lot of worry. A lot of times when people, quote unquote, don't want to do the deep work, it's because they don't want to face the sense of worthlessness that they know is present in them. And they're just really afraid of it. They're afraid of what it's going to do. The feeling of worthlessness can cause depression, loneliness, anxiety, feelings of not being good enough, of course, right? Worry, and even anger, right? I would go so far as to suggest that most of us, especially in the United States, have an underlying experience of worthlessness, which means that most of us operate from a place of worthlessness. This is a huge statement. I am aware. Obviously, this is not everybody. There are people, and they're easy to recognize, that simply missed this worthlessness lesson. They were raised to believe that they were loved and lovable, right? As Brene Brown says, there are those that believe we are worthy of love and belonging, and then there are the rest of us. So I fell into the category of believing I was not worthy of love and belonging. I lived in this category for most of my life, and I'm still there, but I've only recently started to glimpse the world through the rose-colored glasses of believing I am worthy of my place in this world. Because that's really what it is, right? Worthlessness is, am I worthy of this breath, of the space I take up, of this job, of this love, of this food, right? So worthlessness for me was an underlying vibration in every cell of my being, every interaction, all of my relationships, every project, conversation, for as long as I can remember. Worthlessness and fear were, you know, these buddies that just hung out in the background or in the forefront for me for a really long time. Worthlessness was at the root of my old worry that I was incapable of feeling joy. So if you've listened to my old podcast, you'll know that for most of my life, I believed that I simply missed the gene to feel joy. I was so filled with fear and feelings of worthlessness and shame and guilt that joy was inaccessible to me. Those things came with me everywhere I went, and I thought joy was just a different experience that other people got to feel, that was experience of life absent from shame, guilt, fear, and worthlessness. So I'm here to tell you that my experience of joy and my experience of worthlessness were intrinsically connected. So worthlessness would have us believe that joy is not available to us. as in joy was something that was reserved for people who were worthy of joy, deserving of joy. And since I was given and received the programming of worthlessness, I believed that there were people in the world who felt worthy of joy and love and belonging. And I simply wasn't good enough to have those experiences. I wasn't worthy of them. There was a belief in me that I had to atone for something or earn something, that I had to become deserving of these things, that I didn't just intrinsically have worth and value and deservingness of love and belonging and joy and connection, right? I felt I had to stay on team miserable because somehow I deserved to be there. So I'm going to be talking about deserving and worthiness as if they're in the same bucket, but I also want to point out the difference between these two. So deserving is like worthiness light. Deserving relates to often this lifetime, this moment, this one thing. Do I deserve this? Whereas worthiness is more pervasive, multi-life, all-encompassing belief that one is either unworthy or worthy of what? Right? Good question. We'll get more into that later. But for now, deserving is more like, do I deserve this piece of cake? Have I earned it through my actions and words? Worthiness is more a question of, at my core, who I really am I worthy of this piece of cake? So there's a bit of a difference, but we will use them a little bit interchangeably here. But when you're doing work with worthiness and deserving, they can bring up very different experiences in your body. So I encourage you to allow those to be separate and experience them in your own way. So worthlessness is so devastating and heartbreaking that we create a slew of personalities to cover up our worthlessness. So worthlessness is something that we want to hide. We have a lot of shame around feelings of worthlessness. We become perfectionists, overachievers, success hounds, or we become terrified of success, terrified of being seen, and incapable of follow through. So you may be a combination of these with wild success in some areas of your life and inability to follow through or stay reliable in other areas. So why does this happen? What's going on? When we have the program of worthlessness, why do we have these real big pendulum swings of what we're capable of accomplishing, right? You'd think that worthlessness would just have you be insecure and giving up on everything, but that's not how it manifests in our life and in our experiences. So our need to avoid feeling worthless sends us either in the direction of external validation and overachieving or into deep depression, hiding and avoiding. You can look like both a high achiever or addicted to failure and have the programming of worthlessness. You can also have the programming of worthlessness and behave in both of these ways in different aspects of your life. People manage their experience of worthlessness in all variety of ways. The common underlying experience is lack of satisfaction, feeling that no matter what, good things happen to you, no matter how much you achieve, you're never at peace. You can't settle with the feeling of accomplishment and joy. You don't feel worthy of what you've created or what is happening around you or the good things that are coming to you. On the flip side, any difficult situation and failures are easy to own. You may be quick to blame yourself, quick to blame others, but the failure is not questioned, only the success, right? It's easy to believe why you didn't get that promotion, why this thing didn't work out, why that person didn't call you back. But when the good things are happening, there might be a mistrust there or a lot of questioning around it. Worthlessness can drive people to achieve great things externally. This is, of course, it comes up empty and gives us a false appearance of success. So again, these are the people that make millions and realize they're still unhappy. They pushed to gain external validation, right? And that kept them moving fast enough to avoid the inner turmoil and their underlying worthlessness. On the other side of those is the ones that have no confidence, those that fail before they even start. A million projects left unfinished or relationships that petered out. This behavior it's embracing the inevitable feeling of worthlessness when the project goes nowhere. There is nothing to be disappointed about because you already feel worthless. So who cares if nothing is successful? So this behavior is sort of the why bother, right? Why would I even try? It's not going to work out anyway. Why would I, get on a dating app? Nobody's going to want to hang out with me. Why would I ask for the promotion? Right? I'm not the best candidate. So it's not going to make you feel better anyway, is the feeling, right? I'm no good anyway. Who would want to buy my product, right? Might as well avoid the pain of failure and simply try, you know, not try hard enough to fail. So they're two sides of the same coin, these, right? So they're both with the root of worthlessness, but they're a different reaction to how worthlessness is manifesting in you. Both are working to keep you from feeling the experience of worthlessness because worthlessness is heartbreaking. And whatever age you were when you first started to feel worthless is too young to feel that way, right? Can you imagine your younger self feeling worthless, alone, abandoned, unlovable, disconnected, feeling like they need to prove their value in this world? It's heartbreaking. Worthlessness is heartbreaking. And this is why we avoid it. So let's talk about what's really happening with worthlessness. What are you feeling not worthy of? So is it validation, praise, compliments, connection, love, joy, all of the above? Worthlessness is an experience from either your childhood, your ancestors, parallel or past lives, and it can also be a collective experience, right? There are religions, there are affinity groups that are particularly good at experiencing worthlessness because historically that is how society has treated them, right? Any marginalized group will have the programming of worthlessness. Worthlessness comes from the reaching out for what you need or want and receiving nothing in return. This could be attention, food, love, connection, safety, whatever it was, it didn't come to you. This could have been a one-time attempt, or it could have happened over and over again. Something wasn't given, something was lacking. And the little you took that lack as the message that you were not worthy of that thing that you were reaching for. This programming becomes internalized as it must be me. I am not receiving this thing, love, safety, belonging, because I am not worthy of this thing. I am not worthy of being picked up by my parent. I'm not worthy of being treated as well as my older siblings. I'm not worthy of attention. I'm not worthy of connection. I'm not worthy of this life, this breath. As an adult, this worthlessness gets translated as constantly trying to prove this wrong or constantly trying to prove this right. The overachiever or the insecure failure. Either way, there's an underlying need to understand this feeling of worthlessness that usually relates to the external, right? Because we're trying to go back and find the root of the worthlessness so that we can reprogram it. But because it's such an uncomfortable feeling, we usually stay outside of ourselves, right? Because I was denied the thing I needed, I must not be worthy of this thing. This programming has the built-in imprint that we need others to help us work through worthlessness. That if I feel I am unworthy of love, I need others to love me more. If I feel I am unworthy of connection, I need a big community. Or I won't reach out to anybody because I'm not worthy of it. If I feel I'm unworthy of praise, I need all the praise, or I can never take a compliment and I won't even bother and I won't even try. So let's look at this piece of proving your worth, right? There is something so heartbreaking and difficult and terrifying inside worthlessness that takes away our agency to reclaim our worth. So, what does this even mean, right? Do we have to prove our worth? Is this part of the contract when we were born? That you better prove why you were worth the effort of pregnancy and labor? Are you worthy of the air you breathe and the food you eat, the space you take up while you sit in a chair? Right? This is insane, but this is how we operate. This is the programming of worthlessness. We tend to jump right over the insanity that is proving your value as a human being, right? Does a bird or shark or snake feel the need to prove their worth to Mother Nature? No. There's no fear of worthlessness in wild animals. They know they have value simply because they exist. So to do, you know, there to have those basic needs met, those that feel worthy don't question their worthiness to exist, to love, to feel joy, to laugh loudly, or receive praise for a job well done, right? To do this basic life and to have these most fundamental needs met and provided, it's internalized as validating one's existence. It just is. I just am. I'm in this world. Of course, I'm worthy of being in this world. Why wouldn't I be? That's ridiculous. But without these things given to us, without this validation, we question our right to exist. Am I worthy of this existence? And since we're given this programming from our experience with the lack in our caretakers, we feel disempowered to reclaim our worthiness for ourselves. Worthlessness is its own perfect black hole of keeping you stuck, believing that something in you is innately undeserving can easily keep you from finding that thing for yourself because you're unworthy. It's a vicious cycle. We only feel worthless when we are taught to feel worthless, when we are loved conditionally, told we are a burden, ignored, belittled, devalued because of our gender, skin color, sexuality, or any other reason that someone decided, no, I'm not giving you that thing that you need. Right? So to drive this home a bit, let's ask the question, right? Do you think when you look out into the world that there are people in the world who are worth more than other people? Would you line up a classroom full of kindergarten kids from least to most worthy? Right? That's insane. Of course not. We live in a culture and for thousands of years of political economy that is based on the belief in exactly that, though. People with money are more valuable. People in politics, doctors, lawyers, Ivy Leaguers, this sports team, that town, this car, that ski vacation. But when you actually feel into these things, what do you experience? For me, all of this external validation and competition causes panic in my system. This is our collective programming to keep worthlessness alive. Other people desperately seeking external validation triggers a general feeling of worthlessness. Like, oh no, they figured out that I don't have those things, and therefore they're going to discover that I'm worthless because we don't value the same things and I don't have their things. And so in their eyes, I must be worthless. Right? And so even if I'm working through my own feelings of worthlessness within myself, there's a lot out in society that continues to trigger the general feeling of worthlessness that we feel as a collective. And I know a lot of rich people, and I know a lot of people who aren't rich. And I have to tell you, I don't know more happy rich people than happy people who aren't rich. And in fact, I would completely redefine the term rich, right? The people that I know that are content within themselves are aware that external validation has nothing to do with who they are as a human being. They got, either lucky with their parenting or they did the work as adults to reclaim their own sense of themselves and their built-in automatic worthiness as a human being, which you do have to rebuild if it was broken. So, because that's really what this is, right? Worthlessness is the choice to give up your agency, your innate right to be in this world. It was the best choice for you at the time. And this can be a really confusing piece and a difficult piece for people to understand. But this also empowers you to just take it back. right? It was the choice to believe that the reason you were not receiving what you needed was because of something wrong with you, not a lack in your caregiver. But the programming is no longer serving you, right? And it certainly wasn't true. And it's not true now. So this is what we can go back and reclaim. This is what we can go back and rebuild because it's still there. It was just a choice to give it up because that felt better at the time, even if it wasn't, a fully conscious choice. We can do this as really little babies. So guess who is the best friend of worthiness? That's right, shame. Big old shame blanket comes waltzing in every time you start to connect with your feeling of worthlessness. You can go in with tender care and love, and a simple trigger of shame can send you running for the hills. Both of these experiences, shame and worthlessness, are an inward pull of something is wrong with me. Worthlessness says, not for you, and shame says, and you better not try. These two feed off each other. They love each other. I am ashamed of my feelings of unworthiness, and therefore I overcompensate for being by being a perfectionist, or I am addicted to the illusion of control, or I can't handle criticism or praise. If you are searching for worthlessness and you find shame, then be encouraged that you are heading in the right direction. Shame will try to keep you from resolving your feelings of worthlessness because it's much harder to feel shame when you have a sense of worthiness. If shame is hatred turned inward, it makes sense that it needs a sense of worthlessness to keep its hold on you. It's much harder to be in self-hatred, and shame will not persist if you have a loving worthiness within you, right? So if I hate myself, it's easy to shame myself. Whereas if I really love myself, shame doesn't make sense. And so these two often are taken on together to keep us in worthlessness because that kept us safer. Worthlessness tends to keep us small, right? It keeps us from asking for things. And if asking for things and staying small was safer, then shame often comes in just to make sure we stay that way. The other best friend of unworthiness is more unworthiness. If you were raised by caregivers in a religion or community that had a rampant unconscious or conscious experience of worthlessness, then chances are you took on part of your worthlessness in order to attune to your environment. And guess what? Feel connected. That's right. We absolutely do this. This may be why, as an adult, you feel great when you're away from certain people from your past and worthless as soon as you get near them. The memory of attuning to their worthlessness is still in you. Our bodies attune right away. And if that patterning is old, we just jump right back in. So when we get together, even if you've done a lot of work on your sense of worthiness, you may feel yourself being pulled into old patterns of worthlessness. So, how do we get out of this? Like anything, if you want to break the pattern, you have to do something different. And if you want to do something different, you want to become aware of what you are currently doing. So becoming aware of the places you play these games. Where are you seeking external validation? Where are you striving to overachieve and still feeling empty? Other people's pursuits of external validation does not have any effect on me or you. If your neighbor wants to buy a Ferrari, does that mean you are worthless? No, right? If your kid's best friend gets into Harvard and your kid's not getting into any schools, does that mean that your family is now worthless? No, but we feel this way, right? Because it's triggering worthlessness in us. So, where is the scale of worthiness and who is determining who is worthy and unworthy? You are. No one else is, right? You decided you were worthless, and now you can decide that you are worthy, right? It was you, right? Tender and vulnerable, the little you that chose to interpret the lack of your basic needs being met as something wrong with you. And the only way to reprogram that worthlessness is to go back and feel through all the big feelings that brought you into that worthlessness. So, where does it come from? Where does worthiness come from? We're all born knowing our worthiness. It's a basic human fact, right, rule, whatever you want to call it. No one can make you feel worthless, and no one can give you back your worthiness. This is an internal game, 100%. Other people can trigger our feelings of worthlessness. Other people, when we were younger, didn't give us the things that we needed, but it was our choice, our decision that we were worthless. And this isn't a bad thing. It was a smart thing. It was the right thing to do at the time. And we can now go back and re-empower ourselves. So if worthlessness is intrinsic, if worthiness is intrinsic and worthlessness is learned experience, then why is worthlessness so rampant and heartbreaking? Why do we live in a world with a worthlessness epidemic? It's true, right? It's everywhere. It's because we've lost our connection to each other and to the truth of who we really are. We've lost touch with our ability to feel and experience the world around us, each other, and the cosmos, this plant, this desk as one, right? Understanding, right? E equals MC squared. We've known this for a really long time. Chi is chi is chi, prana is prana is prana, life force is life force. We're all made of stardust. You and I are the same. Your dog is the same as this chair, as the sun, as the moon. The truth that we're all made up of energy and potential is the fundamental aspect within the feeling of worthiness. I am worthy of love and belonging because I am the same as you. So how could I not belong? I am love as you are love. So how could I be unworthy of what I already am? This disconnection from this truth has us scrambling externally for reconnection. If you forget from trauma and religious, societal, and family pressure that you are connected to and created from the oneness of all things, then you become terrified and you feel alone, unworthy, disconnected. When we believe that we are disconnected from the truth of who we really are, we seek love externally. When that love is given on the condition that you behave, stay small, be pleasing, smile, be a good student or athlete, stay quiet, and you can't meet those expectations, then you believe the problem lies within you. There must be something wrong with me, and therefore I am worthless, I am unlovable, I will never be enough. Instead of knowing the truth from within, we take the best we can get from the people around us who also operate from a feeling of worthlessness most of the time. Basically, we become a society of worthlessness, breeding worthlessness. So again, how do we fix it? Right? You remember who you are. This happens through deep meditation, connection to Mother Nature, true loving Tantra, anything that slows you down and brings you back into the truth of who you are, back to your connection to self and the universe. Now, as you go through this process, you might have a whole lot of protector parts, a lot of layers, a lot of voices that have a lot to say about this path to feeling your innate worthiness. You may have to get some help from a coach or therapist, an affinity group, to feel safe enough to return to the truth of who you are. The important piece is to be kind to yourself. Go as slow as this process requires. You cannot bull in a china shop your way into worthiness. You have to approach your worthlessness first, and this can be very, 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 very tender work. We only heal as fast as our slowest part. So please be kind to all your parts and pieces and voices that need care and attention on this journey back home. So thank you for listening. And as always, from my heart to yours, sending so much love.